British society and British environment that those who want to work hard and want to succeed, they can. The pressure that my father would have had, he was not highly educated, but very successful business entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Then in 1972, we had the announcement from the then President Idi Amin to effectively ask all the Asians to leave the country.
Yes.
Or my sister who had a part-time job at the biscuit factory,
Okay.
and she would bring broken biscuits, the reject biscuits for us. Those are the things that we had to do with because we couldn't afford more.
Our guest today has crossed borders, countries, culture, and power. Born in Uganda and rising to become the first Asian partner at a major London accounting firm. His journey is basically addressed as success. I'm happy to introduce you to Subhash Thakrar today. Thank you so much for being a part of our show. So tell us, Subhash, about your childhood, about your life in before UK in Uganda. How was it?
Thank you, Pranav. First of all, thank you for having me on your show.
Right.
And welcome to Moore Park Mansion, one of the very historic buildings, and also happens to be my golf club.
Right.
You asked the question about what happened in my childhood. Well, I was born and brought up in a small industrial town in Uganda called Jinja, and I had my primary education in a place called Kakira, where there were some independent business owners, and my father was one of such business owners, and I was born there. So I had all my primary education there, and started a little bit of secondary education in the city of Jinja, and then moved on to India temporarily because the political circumstances of Uganda at that time were looking a little bit uncomfortable.
Which year was it?
This would have been in 1969 that I left Uganda. So I was only 13, and we had to move on, although my father carried on his business there. But this is the definition of how largely a lot of Indian community are able to adapt or leave a setup and adapt. When we were there, we grew up and never thought that we'll ever have to leave Uganda. And then in 1972, we had the announcement from the then President Idi Amin to effectively ask all the Asians to leave the country.
Yes.
So we became immigrants in UK at that time in 1972, and developed our life from a level zero from there. So really, it's a kind of a new thing. But my days in Uganda were primarily educational, spending time building up my primary education and a little bit of secondary education. But we learned to work in business even at that time. When the family business was there, I would often be involved in counting money or doing some bookkeeping work or standing behind the counter to sell goods. So there was a kind of early stage involvement of to understand some nature of the business.
Okay, so we mentioned about the business. What business your father had?
We had a wholesaling business. We used to have lots of commodities that we used to buy and retail and wholesale. We had transport business. We had a couple of mills in making jaggery and as well as flour mills. Because of the uncertainties that were developing in Uganda, my father felt that the family should be safer in India. So I went to initially Jamnagar and then Vadodara for some education, and thereafter the expulsion took place. So we just came from India to here to settle down here because we are all British citizens by origin. So that's why we were settled here. Otherwise, we would have been elsewhere. There were many people who were Ugandan citizens that were Indians, and they ended up becoming stateless. So they went different parts of the world.
Right. So when this move happened, it was a very historical move.
Yes.
What did you lose, you feel, today? If I have to talk about emotionally, what did you lose in Uganda?
It was a life-changing move. Of course, when you move from an environment of Africa or India in those days to UK, you are going to be a little bit excited because of what UK was generally offering. The standard of living was higher. The opportunities were probably more. it was at that time also 1972 a recession, economic recession going on in the UK. But even then, the thing that I look back and think about is the pressure that my father would have had. He was not highly educated, but very successful business entrepreneur. And now to be moved to another environment, another country, where his work skills or business skills were not immediately going to be utilized. And when it came to getting a job, it would be a bit more challenging.
Definitely.
So, and then he had a whole family of, well, my elder sister was married, but otherwise 6 siblings to take care of in a small house in Leicester. The house had 2.5 bedrooms. When I say 2.5, there's a little bedroom and then 2 reasonable sized bedrooms. And the one toilet and one kitchen, and we had all 6 of us, at the 6 and the 2 parents, 8 of us had to live in there and accommodate ourselves as best as we could. But I have to say that when it was like that, and like it happens in many families, when you are under a challenge, you do create a kind of companionship, camaraderie within the family members to be able to live comfortably and happily. It didn't matter if we had a broken black and white television set, whether sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't matter that. Or my sister who had a part-time job at the biscuit factory, and she would bring broken biscuits, the reject biscuits for us. Those are the things that we had to do with because we couldn't afford more.
Definitely. And also it's a new life as well for a lot of migrants who come to this country. And when they're starting up all fresh, all new, this is the kind of challenges that most of the people who come to this country or they move to any other country, they have to go through.
And I have to say that within UK at that time, although there was a lot of anti-immigration arguments going on like we have today, but at the same time, there was a lot of support. There was a lot of support, and I owe it to this country for whatever I am today in many ways, because I got my formal education here, I've succeeded here. The environment has been very suitable, and I think the praise must go to the British society and British environment that those who want to work hard and want to succeed, they can.
Right. So tell us a bit about your professional journey as well. When you finished your studies and then you moved into the professional world. I believe so that you were the first Asian to work in an accounting firm. Tell us more about your experience.
Well, I think the better way to explain that is that I graduated from Birmingham University and then I trained with one of the top accounting firms. But I knew that it'll take a long time to progress my career there. So I decided that I will join a firm which was smaller or medium-sized, but had a potential. So I then joined Blackstone Franks. And there was a Blackstone and there was a Franks, and they both one by one interviewed me. And my position to them was very clear that I'll stay on for 6 months. I'll demonstrate to them what I might be able to do. But in return, I wanted them to make a commitment that I will be a partner in the firm. So I was amongst the first equity partners in an accounting firm.
With your journey as a first Asian to be a partner in this accounting firm, having a different origin and also a different race, did it really matter at that point in time? Was it?
I'm sure it mattered, but honestly, Pranav, I've never in my life so far in the UK experienced any strong discrimination of any kind. This is a very good country in many ways. It's got a very good understanding and fairness about it. So hard work, putting the time and effort in, and the principle of giving more than you're taking is quite strong in my mind, and has been all the time. That there had to be that, and there had to be, given where we were, how we started as basically zero balance, where there was a sense of purpose. There had to be, and I felt that I have to make success. I have to achieve something. That ambition or purpose was a big driver in my development as a career. I could have easily given up education and got a job and started enjoying the wages and the salaries that I would have received, and maybe 10 years later regretted it. But I felt I had to do it, and I had to work hard. And this is what I did. Even at university, I had to, every Easter period, Christmas period, and summer period, I used to go and have a job. Right, and even in Leicester, when I was doing my A-levels, I used to go to a bar, not to drink, but to work, clean glasses and so on. And then I used to work at a petrol station filling gas. and work as a sales representative in a shop, in a menswear shop. So, whatever opportunities existed for earning, and I think I can say that for other immigrants, particularly Ugandan immigrants at that time, is that they had a sense of wanting to work and earn, and not a sense of wanting to depend on the state. This is very unique about this Ugandan Asian community, which even now, there have been debates on best immigration groups in the parliament, and they've voted that Ugandan Asians are the best. And we felt a bit uncomfortable when we were at all in a situation of having to claim a benefit.
Correct.
It wasn't thought of as a right, it was thought of as a favor, and we didn't want that favor. We wanted to make it happen ourselves. And I think the community also was supportive with each other. So if you're trying to do something, you go for support from another fellow community member, you most likely get some support. So that worked. So that's how, it was definitely hard work, but the British environment was really also very supportive. And so overall, then, of course, you can achieve a result.
But tell us a little more about your accounting firm. So when you became the managing partner at the accounting firm, and how this entire journey started, and then you started working and opening different arms of charity organizations, and you also started something in India. Would you like to talk about that as well?
Yeah, so accounting work was going on, and I was progressing. I was doing my share of good billing in the firm. The firm was well respected, doing a lot of work in tax and corporate finance, and we were the pioneers in starting the wealth management arm by an accounting firm, which was also very new.
Like a family office?
Not family office, but wealth management.
Okay.
So we administered investments and personal financial planning and things like that, which is now common, but in those days it was pioneering. So we did that. My partners were innovative in those areas. But I started to feel that I had to look around and do more. And I checked with my partners that whether they had any objections in me spending time in India and doing other things. I offered them they could participate, but they had no vision of what the progress of India. And India was just opening up in those days, in 1990s, mid-90s. And so I started going there, and one of the first things I did was to put an ad in the Economic Times of India, first front page, quarter page ad, to say I'm here and I'll be staying at the Taj Hotel in Mumbai and Delhi, and these are the dates. If you want to meet me, available. And my background is this. And my 2 weeks of diary got very full, and I managed to meet and learn a lot about what was then happening in India. And we were employing about 1,500 people at the time, so it was certainly looking very different to everything. So I was juggling between UK and India and moving around between the countries.
Right. So what was the whole motive behind this expansion? I understand success is one thing, and success is different for everyone. What was that thought?
It's ambition, it's sense of purpose, of wanting to do more. Even now, one might say I've done everything I should be doing in life, but I still want to do more. I've not really got to a point of satisfaction. I guess I'll never feel that, and that's something again I would say people should have and should develop in their way of life, is to always want more, not to be greedy and have a wealth of financial things, but to achieve more. Today my ambitions are to give more to society.
Yes, and how do that as well.
How do I develop it? So that led me to found a charity, Clarity, and I'm trustee of some charities, and now working on the ideas of how the Hindu values, which are very predominant and very effective, can be brought into the British way of life to reduce things like crime, to improve levels of education and so on. I mean, early days yet, but this is what I'm at this stage in my life. I'm thinking about trying to say, okay, what more can I give? What more can I do? When it came to business environment, because you only do things in business to make a profit.
Correct.
So you're watching the profit first. But to then say, no, but still concentrate on your action. And when you think long and hard, and if you are in business, you are hardworking, honest, fair, reasonable, sensible to your customers, you will have more success. So concentrate on that more. Have a better product, have a better service, give more than you get, things like that. So that's one value. The other major value that I've learned from the Gita, which is very, very powerful, and particularly in this environment today that we're living in, is good and bad will happen to all of us.
But today's time, and especially with the new government, and we've been hearing, we just got the budget, and we
Yes.
know that well, we've been taxed in multiple things now.
Yes.
A lot of people have decided to move outside the country. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm not in favor of people moving out of the country. If they've been here 20, 30, 40 years and benefited from everything that was there, right? And whilst I will question the policy of this present government and how they are utilizing the money that they raise from tax, but if circumstances force the country to have to ask the people to contribute higher taxes for the wider benefit, if they are used properly, and I have lots of question marks about whether this government will make good use of all the money they raise. But if they do, then it's our duty to contribute. And you only remember, tax is only applied when you have made money.
Correct.
Right? If you haven't made money, there's no tax.
Yes.
Right? Zero tax to pay if you haven't got income.
Yes.
You only have it. So why not? But I think some of the laws are very draconian, like the inheritance tax law that they brought in, where people will be subject to worldwide assets.
Yes.
And okay, on death they might be subject to inheritance tax on those worldwide assets, but where is the liquidity to pay the tax? And they have not thought all those things through. Now recently they brought out in this budget a mansion tax.
Yes.
We'll have huge problems on valuations of issues on the properties. We'll have huge problems because again, many people have got a valuable property, but they don't have liquidity. And then how are they going to keep paying the extra tax? So there are challenges, but I think leaving the country just because of the tax, I think it's not necessarily right.
Do you think that is also maybe the reasons why, mainly from the inheritance point of view,
Inheritance tax, you mean? Yeah.
Yes, subject
Yes.
to inheritance tax, and that would be one reason
Yeah.
why people have decided to move.
Yes,
we also heard Lakshmi Mittal also
Yes,
has moved outside.
yes. So Lakshmi Mittal, along with 20 other of his friends, have moved together at one time to Dubai, and some of them are my friends, and I've met them, and I can see their point of view that these are the problems. They're saying that look, if we have assets which are not liquid, and then in the UK we have to pay tax on that, how are our dependents going to be able to cope with that? And you don't, if you've got a company, you don't pay that a certain value, you can't liquidate the companies to pay the tax, and so how are you going to cope with all those things? So this hasn't been fully thought through, and I can see that that's the logic why some people have left, and those who have substantial assets outside UK, which were previously protected from being attacked, are now, so they see that as, and I think there is some logic for them in the sense that they earned all those assets and they've accumulated that wealth before they came here. So why should they be subject to tax on that?
So what message would you like to give to aspirational Asians who are wanting to come to the UK and start something from scratch? How they should go about in their lives?
Okay, thank you. Well, when you come to the UK, one thing you must appreciate is that the environment is excellent. It's a very good environment, one of the best in the world. People may talk about UK economy slowing down, things not as good as that. Yes, there are elements of that, but then don't forget that there are also tremendous opportunities available. It's a country where you can be amongst the equals. You will not feel subordinated. You will not feel that you are a second-class citizen. You can work at top level. And if you're ambitious and hardworking, you will reach. But have a sense of purpose and have the desire to do something more.
So, Subhash, I'm going to ask you some of the fastest questions.
Turn around for you.
Yes. So, what's your favorite Asian dish in the UK?
Gujarati home cooking from my wife.
Okay. A quote that you live by?
You are capable of doing a lot more than you're doing.
Most inspiring person you've met? It has to be fast.
The King.
The King? Okay. Book recommendation?
The Bhagavad Gita at any time.
One piece of advice that you like to give to our young Asians?
Never give up, and there is a lot more you can do.
What does the community mean to you?
Quite a lot.
Would you like to describe it in just one word?
You belong to communities, and the community gives you a lot back. They give you respect, love, and support.
Okay. What you would say to your younger self today?
You can do more.
Okay. What more can you do? You have done so much already, Subhash. Your favorite pastime?
Golf and reading.
Okay. Which is the book that you're reading currently?
Every day I read the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay.
But I am also reading another version of the Bhagavad Gita from the Chinmaya mission, which is very elaborate and very interesting. And then I have concurrent four levels of reading that happens.
Wow.
So there's always a book or two that I read at the same time. I belong to the Royal Society of Arts. I'm a lifetime fellow, and I love to read their journal.
Okay, that's interesting. If you had to summarize your journey in one sentence, what it would be?
Tough question. Unable to answer.
All right. Thank you so much, Subhashji, for being a part of this wonderful interview today. It was actually not an interview, it is a journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.